Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how are you doing today?
Oh, Joe, I got a lot of energy today, brother. I don't know. I think it was normally when I get up in the morning, I get up at like 5:30 in the morning and I take Buddy out for his whiz and his dewey there. And we then jump in the car and I go to my favorite coffee stand. It just gets me going. But normally I get a big 20-ounce coffee. I only drink maybe half of it. But for some reason today, I think I've drank about 18 ounces of that coffee. So I'm a little amped up to say the least. So, it's all good here. The Clarkies, my two twin girls, fifth graders, 11 years old, had their very first basketball game this past weekend. And they've never played before and are completely clueless. And it was hilarious. It's so fun. It is. I think I like it better being than the soccer mom because it's indoors. And I thought it was going to be completely bad news bears with this, basketball game thing, but they weren't that bad, but just funny stuff, right? They could get the ball and then they all freeze, or they dribble it up, like so high, like it bounces like way up above their head. They're trying to dribble it, Some of the girls are like watch themselves run, like oh, I'm running, and they're kind of like it's so funny. But looking forward to those games here on the weekend, on the days that we're not snowboarding, which comes right soon. Which is the opposite of what you're doing right now, because you're in Maui, right? What's going on? Tell us what's up.
Kauai this time. We're in Kauai.
Oh, Kauai.
So I don't want to tell you guys too much because it's pretty awesome here. I was talking to Tony before the call, and he was saying that the weather's not that great here, but sorry, guys.
Weren't you in Kauai last year and it was like flash flood and I was having to stay up all night wearing like a mama bear because you were in a flash flood in Kauai like last year? Or you flew in during a hurricane or something?
That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We got here right after they had that really bad flooding where like houses were sliding down hills and they had to rescue a whole bunch of people, and the Poly Coast Trail was closed and there was like helicopters everywhere.
So you're having a different experience this year.
We are. The other night we woke up to thunder and lightning and there was flooding up north, but it was only like a temporary thing, nothing that caused too much damage.
Are you guys camping out in the canyon?
No.
That's pretty crazy, right?
We're roughing it in an Airbnb.
Nice. By the pool. Nice. Well, where can everybody follow your adventures if you guys haven't all jumped onto the Fantastic Life and Joe's all his awesome social stuff? This guy, here we are all slugging it out, to live, trying to get to the financial freedom, live our dream. And our man Joe Bauer here is schooling us all by living his life exactly how he wants to right now, which is in a van everywhere all across the United States and Europe. Jeez. So where can people follow you on that stuff, Joe?
They will be disappointed if they're looking for the van in Hawaii. The van's hanging out in Seattle. But we do have some pretty cool stuff that we're doing out here in Hawaii, and you can follow us on Instagram at The Fantastic Life or at thefantasticlife.com or Facebook at The Fantastic Life. So wherever you like, and we're going to do some crazy adventuring on Friday. So if y'all are into seeing us try and run 20 miles on the Poly Coast Trail, that would be the spot to do it on the Instagrams or Facebook. So we'll be posting a lot.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, I'm not going to be running on the Poly Coast Trail or whatever you're calling it. Poly Coast. What is that?
Nepali.
Not Poly Coast. I got you. But I am running down to Burien today, where I'm going to host our weekly Seattle Investors Club meetup with my buddy Nee from Certain Lending, who's of course with us today, because today we are doing one of our podcast series called My First Three Deals with our buddy Tony Truong. Did I say that right, Tony?
Yes, you did.
All right. Nee, what's going on, brother?
Not much at home. I stay at home on Tuesday to stay close to your meeting to make sure I don't miss it, because I live pretty close to Burien too.
Awesome stuff.
And I was listening to your story about your kids and just watching. That's my goal in life, right? To be able to free up my time so that later on I can attend all of their events and watch them run around. Hopefully not in the same way that they're running around right now, but that would be entertaining too.
I hear you. It's a balance for sure. They have Grandparents' Day at school, friends and grandparents. I usually always go to that this week at school, but my work is in the way this week and I won't be able to go, which is kind of a bummer. So we're all still pursuing it. We're all after chasing the same thing, which is freedom with our time and financial freedom. And so what this podcast series here is today, guys, this is Nee and I and Joe hosting, like I said. We're trying to get people, if you're a newer investor or you've done 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deals, we'd love to hear from you and have you on the podcast, because we were just saying how people love to hear from people they can relate to, not just people that have done tons of deals and are already, halfway up the mountain they're trying to climb, right? It is amazing how much we can learn from people just getting started in their journey or have a handful of things under their belt. We actually probably can learn a whole, almost more in some ways from them. So that's what we're going to do today. And Nee and I are going to be talking to real estate investors, hopefully at least once a month. We're trying to grow our list on that. And if you're willing to share your story with us, just reach out to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com so we can get you on the podcast. We'd love to hear from you. But another side note, if you guys haven't heard me say it a million times, if you haven't figured it out already, Joe and I are super, super stoked to have Certain Lending as our Seattle Investors Club preferred hard money lender and the sponsor of this podcast. If you guys have not been in touch with me or Israel or Charles at Certain Lending, you are doing a disservice to yourself. There is a ton of hard money lenders out there. And of course, you need to choose your lending partners very wisely, which is what we've done here at Seattle Investors Club. And there's a reason why the word certain is in their name. And just, reach out to me. We'll talk about that here at the end of the podcast. If you got any deals coming up, and check today's show notes, Joe will let you know how to do that at the end to get in contact with Certain Lending if you need to borrow some money. So let's do it. Tony, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome stuff. I didn't ask you if you, I don't have a note here. I know you have the Motive Group, which is your real estate brokerage brand. Do you also have an acquisitions entity for yourself that you roll under for your deals?
Yep.
Or?
Yeah. So we break out Motive Group as residential and investment. So for the investment side, we do the acquisition.
Okay. So Motive Group is also an acquisitions entity as well as your overall brand.
Yes.
Excellent. Awesome stuff. Good stuff. And so what's the story? Give us how many deals have you done so far, or how many are you working on right now? What's the little background on that?
In total, I'm on my 7th deal.
Wow.
And right now I have 1 new construction that's in permitting process. Actually, 2. 2's in the permitting process, and 1's the flip that I'm working on right now.
Wow. That is awesome. Well, I got to tell you, Tony, that one thing that I've noticed about you that stands out for sure is your branding and your social media presence. Your whole branding thing with the Motive Group is very impressive, very professional, looks awesome.
Thank you.
I need you to help me, man. It's good stuff. I'm very impressed with that sort of thing. So I'm going to rewind it back here real quick if you guys are ready. And Joe's going to kick us off with our traditional first question here so we can get to know you a little bit better today.
All right, Tony, time to take us back in the time machine and let us know where you grew up, how you grew up, and how that got you to this crazy world of real estate.
Okay, so I grew up, born and raised in Seattle. My family actually came from Vietnam in 1989, and we lived in Yester, the Section 8 project. So I went to school there, grew up there, went to Nelson Middle School for a year, and then I moved up here with my sister to Renton and attended Lindbergh High School. So I've been a local to Seattle, know the area pretty well my whole life.
Awesome stuff. And then what happened after high school? What'd you do?
I worked at Fry's Electronics for 4 years. Have you heard of that place?
Is Fry's Electronics still in business?
Yes, they are.
Awesome.
Yes, they are.
And what happened there? What'd you do there? Like a sales guy? Are you like are you a tech nerd type of conehead guy, which we love? I need that in my life.
Yes, I did sales for computer component parts. I was into tech a lot. And from there, I got into tech, did a lot of sales training, a lot of, the pitch, how to get customers, try to sell them on the warranty. Did that for 4 years. And then I was going to school at the same time. Then I got into Microsoft as a data analyst.
Nice. Awesome.
I did that for about a year and a half and then realized that I really like sales and talking to people versus just sitting at a desk every day.
Right. And then how did you jump? Were you thinking about real estate at that time where you were sitting at Microsoft, or how did you even start thinking about real estate?
No, I was actually thinking, what can I do to sell to make a living? Component parts wasn't that great. Should I do car salesman? And I thought to myself, what's the biggest thing I can sell? And I was like, oh, real estate. So that's how I got into looking at YouTube, going to Seattle Investor Club and reading more books about it.
Awesome. So you were driven by, we have a lot of people on the podcast that like accidentally fall into real estate because they end up with a rental for some reason. And then they make a bunch of money and they're like, holy crap, that was awesome. I need to do more of that. And they fall into real estate that way. A lot of people start when they're young too. It's interesting. But so you come from it from a different perspective, which is cool to hear, which is, hey, I love sales. I'm good at sales. I want to be around people. I don't want to sit in a desk and I don't want to sell stuff inside a big retail store. And you identified real estate as that product, I guess I'll say, that can get those bigger paydays for you. That's smart, super smart. So how did you get started then? Where did you plugged into Seattle Investors Club doing some YouTube stuff, and keep going. Tell us what else. What from there that opened up your mind and you're like, dang, Seattle Investors Club is awesome. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, learn a lot from there. And then I told my sister, it's like, tell everybody you want to buy distressed property. So I told all my friends, told my sister. She owns a hair salon in Renton, and she had a client that was going through a divorce and wanted to get out of her house. And at the time, it was in her house is in Tacoma, Central Tacoma Hilltop, and she wanted to sell to me for $120,000. At the time, I had no money. I didn't know how to buy the property, and then I found something called Subject to. So okay. I did a Subject to. So I assumed her mortgage. We agreed to pay $120,000. And I took over a mortgage of $1,024 a month and funded the rehab on my credit card.
Wow. Well, let's school it back a little bit here, and then Nee's going to jump in as well. How did you even know how to do a subject to deal, or who guided you? That's a more complicated, tricky. I mean, in some ways it's very simple, but legally it's a little more tricky. Yes. I'd say. So where did you learn about Subject to and all that?
So when I was at Microsoft acquired LinkedIn. So we were required to build our LinkedIn and work on our LinkedIn profile. And then I just typed in real estate investor in Renton. And then I got on and found Jimmy Tang at Tang Real Estate Investment.
Jimmy, we love Jimmy.
Yes. So I reached out to him, asked, how can I start real estate? And then we met up for coffee, and later I just followed him a little bit, and he told me about Subject to. And then from there, that's how I started YouTubing more. And he gave me the escrow title, the legality of it, everything to do the Subject to.
Awesome. Good stuff. We love Jimmy. I'm working with something on Jimmy right as we speak.
That's good.
So awesome stuff. Well, let's roll it back. Nee, jump in with let's get into the first deal.
Yeah, so you told us how you found it, and you told us like how you financed it. How did you find? How did you know what to do for the rehab? And did you use a contractor? You said you used your credit cards. Did you do it yourself?
No, I found the contractor at the gym. I told him, oh, I bought a house. I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna be a real estate investor. He's like, awesome. I'm a contractor. I told him, okay, cool. Can you give me a bid for the house? Went to the house, and the budget was $20,000 to do a cosmetic flip. It turned out to be $85,000. Something that's supposed to take 3 months took 11 months.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, that was
how'd
bad.
that happen?
I don't know. Honestly, he just took his time, did really bad job, and then he was living in the house for 2 months. And there was something that no books or podcast told me about. It was permits. I didn't know anything about permits. Got red tagged for electrical dimmer switch downstairs, and then the city of Tacoma did a stop work order for 2 months, and then he left on vacation right after that.
Wow. That is hilarious. So who came up with the $20,000 budget initially?
The contractor did.
Oh.
Yeah.
So did you make money on that deal, or?
Yes, I did. So
give us go deep on the details for us. Like, break it down if you can.
Okay. So after the numbers, or do you want the whole detail of the flip?
We want it all, Tony.
Everything.
Okay. So after the 2 month red tag, I fired the contractor. Then I hired another contractor, and he was on a bulletin board at the gym too. Didn't learn my lesson. So hired him. He put exterior trim pieces at the door molding, and he cut through the siding. So I didn't pay him for it, and he wanted to come back to rip the whole front porch out the house. So that we had a little battle back and forth for a couple months. Then I ended up paying him half of it. He left. And then this guy in the back of the house, he was a drug dealer. He dumped all of his needles in the backyard. But when he dumped the needles, he dumped his mail too. So I saw the address, right? I went to him. I was like, this is your stuff. He's like, no, it's not my stuff. But if you pay me $100, I'll clean it up for you.
We didn't know that guy. Who's that guy?
Yeah, right. So I was like, okay, you know what? I can't deal with this. I just want to sell it. So I got the U-Haul truck, told him to dump everything in the U-Haul truck. I'll come back for it. And guess what happened? He stole my U-Haul truck for a week.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
And at that time, I was done with this house, right? So I went to fixate it, and I met Taro, right? And he did a lot of flips in Tacoma. So I told him, oh, look, I have a house in Tacoma. Can you come out, look at it, do a walkthrough, and, can you buy it from me? And then he did a walkthrough, and he came out, he called me, he told me that, look, Tony, you don't have any legal rooms in this house. There was no closet in the house. I can only give you $200,000 for the house or something like that. But I was already in it like $220 at the time because of how much all the fees I did. I was like, oh, I can't do that. I got to figure it out. So I went on YouTube, went on Google, tried to find how can I convert it to a room without paying and framing in the closet. And I found out that if you go to IKEA, buy a closet, put it on the wall, it counts in the appraiser's eye. So I did that. Yeah.
Did you have to attach the closet to the wall? Is that a requirement?
Yeah.
That's a good.
As long as it's...
Hey, you guys, guess what? This is a little tip from Tony today. That is a good tip. That is really good tip, right? Right there. Is it, seriously, like, if it's not attached, do you know, doesn't count, but if it is attached and drilled into the wall, it does count?
If it's not attached, they'll just tell you to attach it. So at IKEA, they have the mountain brackets, so the closet doesn't fall over. So if you do that, it'll work.
Interesting. I will say that I've never tried that, and I don't know that I've run into that, but it's a super good tip. That's actually worth listening to this podcast today for, right there, Tony. That's awesome stuff.
Yes, I did that. So I was in the house about $225,000, and the house, my firm at the time said it was worth $225,000, And I said, oh, I can't do that. I'm going to lose money. So I just put it on the market for 285 on Friday. At 285, and everyone's like, oh, it's not going to sell. This is way too high for the market. The most something ever sold in that neighborhood was 250. And this was back in December of 2017. So I listed it. And then a day later, somebody called me and said, oh, we're getting outbid a lot. We want this house. What can we do to get this house under contract? And I was sitting at another open house, and I was like, I didn't know what to say, so I just wrote a 3 down. I was like 3, and she's like 325. If you say that yes, we'll sign a contract and we'll be good with the house. So I said, yeah, let's do 325. So it went over asking in one day.
Oh my God.
And on the phone, I was like, okay, yeah, just send over 325. I'll see what we can do. But I was just jumping with joy. I was so happy.
Oh my God. Well, that is basically the right place at the right time, timing right there.
Yeah.
Oh man. You know, I have a name for that. Everybody calls new investors newbies, but I have another term that I call, which is called a lucky. I call people lucky. It's a loving.
I was very lucky.
Yeah, you were a lucky. And the thing about that is that some people don't go through those horrible experiences you went through and then get that lucky. That's the luckiest. That is the damn luckiest thing I have ever heard right there. I don't know, Nee, have you heard better than that?
That's pretty up there for lucky.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, but,
oh my God. And it
here's what I would do. I'm still gonna call Tony a hustler instead of a lucky person, because he was resourceful during that entire experience.
That is a good word. Hustler is a great word. I love hustlers. Good job, Tony. That's crazy. So keep going. You actually ended up banking that money. What happened with the appraisal?
The appraisal came back at value.
Oh.
Wow.
Jeez. God.
Yeah, I didn't even know about appraisal at the time.
Well, let's just say I want to give a disclaimer here today for everybody that's listening. We are not in that market right now in regards to the timing of that situation with Tony. So don't anybody, but honestly, if you have nothing to lose, if you feel like, you want to throw something on and see what happens, anybody who is in trouble and wants to try something like that, talk to me after this podcast. I have some things that may help you have a little bit more success in attempting to do that. But we've lost the stability and predictability and the crazy climbs of our market, what Tony was experiencing at that time, at least for the moment. But boy, that is a crazy story. I want to know even more though. I want to know more about, I want to know more about like how you paid for it. I don't know, Nee, do you have any questions that we can ask him? I want to drill down even further into how you ended up spending the money. You had enough, would you have $100,000 available on your credit card? How did you finance it? That's Nee's department.
Yeah. So. Well, you gave a disclaimer earlier. I feel like we should put out another disclaimer of, these results are not typical. Your mileage may vary for anyone starting to do real estate investing, right? Because this is a great story. I'm also curious about the same thing. Your budget went from 20 to 85. How do you? I mean, you said you financed that entire thing with credit cards, and again, what was the numbers before when you started, and then what was the final numbers when everything's finished?
So the number before was acquisition, buy it at 120, put in 20 grand. I'll be in at 140 and sell it at 220. That was the original plan because the market supported 210, 215 by the time everything was going over asking. So I thought, okay, let's put it, it's worth 210, 215, but I think it'll go to 220 at the time. And originally we were going to go in and do paint, flooring, new bathroom, new exterior paint, and that was it. And then someone told me, oh, you can finish out the basement, add more square footage. I was like, okay, let's finish the basement. I didn't know anything about height restriction either. And the inspector for electrical that red tagged me, he tried to tell me to go call the builder's inspector to come out too, because this is not legal height. You have to rip all the drywall out because you can't make this a legal basement. And I had to fight that too.
So they told you that because of the ceiling height in the basement, you could not have drywall down there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. There you go, right there. And did you find that to be accurate, or what happened?
It is, but the house was built in 1902 and it was grandfathered in.
Got it. So you didn't rip out the drywall?
No, I didn't. I just cut out a couple holes so the inspector can see the wiring, and then we just put it back.
Wow. Okay. Well, keep going. So you ended up putting the 80 grand because you ended up going to finish the basement. What other stumbles happened? So now we've heard about the drug dealer, the needles, the stolen truck, the red tag, the
materials were stolen.
Huh?
Material was stolen. Someone broke into the house and stole the tools and all the materials. So I had to buy it all again.
It was probably the guy that stole the truck, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I called Tacoma police to come out 2 times. They never came out.
Wow.
Wow.
Jeez. I'm still processing over here. Man.
So this is bringing back a lot of memories.
No doubt. So you ended up with a finished basement, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And did you change the price though because of that?
I changed the price because I was almost underwater and I wanted to make some money.
You just picked a number and decided to go for it.
Yes.
This is a good learning moment for everybody that I'll say something real quick. When you guys all, everybody who's listening out there in podcast land, when you guys are you're doing your ARVs on properties and so forth, a couple things to remind you guys of is that above ground main floor space is worth more than below ground basement space. That's how appraisers think about it. And so just know that when you are building out your basement space, it's not as valuable as building out main floor space. When I do my own comps, and this is a disclaimer, I am not an appraiser. Learn on your own. Learn from however you can. Maybe go even see if you can meet with an appraiser and talk to them. I know there's some appraisers on WARI that you could probably buy coffee to or whatever. So I'm just talking about myself, and you guys need to learn this on your own. I do have inside the Seattle Investors Club membership, there is a video and a training on how I do it. That's just how I do it. But I always break down all my deals, whether I'm brokering or investor stuff, between main floor space and basement space or second floor space. And I value and do my comps and my calculations of my ARV based on how many square feet are on each floor, right? Because you could have 2,000 square foot houses, and if one has 1,300 square feet on the main floor and 700 square feet in the basement, and the other one has 1,000 square feet on the main floor and 1,000 square feet in the basement, they look like they're both 2,000 square foot houses. But the one with the higher amount of square footage on the main floor will be worth more money because main floor space is worth more than basement space. So if anybody wants to do a deep dive with me on that, come see me at one of our weekly meetups in either Burien or Redmond, or you can reach out to me at julie@seattlemestersclub.com. But I just want to throw that in there right now. When you're thinking about on your projects whether you should finish basement space or not, remember it's not worth as much. But that's awesome. Geez. So how did you pay for it? Are you like?
So the acquisition I did a subject to
credit partners, right? We need Tony's got like an $80,000 credit card. We need one of our credit partners.
Well, in high school, I got my credit cards back in when I was 16. So credit wise, I was already established and I was really good with my money. And I had a lot of zero interest introduction APRs like for 1 year credit cards. I had one at 20,000, one at 30, 10, 5. And yeah, it just all added up.
Whoa. Wow.
Nice.
God, you did get lucky. Boy, that was a turning point. That could have been a turning point in your life right there if you didn't get that lucky, right?
Yes. And I paid all the minimum. It was all minimum payments for 11 months.
Wait, did you pay your contractors with a credit card too? Like you did a kind of cash balance transfer?
No, from that, I did my Microsoft. I was still working at Microsoft. So my Microsoft paycheck went to the contractor.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Well, that's deal number one.
Yes.
That's deal number one. So let me ask you, so since that you learned so much from that, did you then continue to, how have you gotten your real estate education since then? I imagine you're not reading stuff on the wall at the gym, although it makes me feel like I need to join the gym and go post my business card up there, something like that, you know?
You should. A lot of networking. So after that, I just met a lot more people like me, and we start networking with a lot more people. So I take people out to lunch, have coffee with them, and start picking their brains.
Awesome stuff. And how long ago did you quit your day job at Microsoft?
August of 2017. Oh, I quit Microsoft before I finished my first flip too.
How'd that go?
Wow.
Any comments on that, Nee?
No, wait. So you quit your job before, after you got the project, but before you finished. Was it mainly because this was proven a success and like I can just do this? I don't need a job anymore.
I was so stressed out from my flip that was going like all downhill. That sitting at the office in Redmond, away from Tacoma, I was like, I just couldn't do my job. I was just thinking about the flip 24/7 almost.
Wow.
Yeah, but I think you're in a different case, right? Because from what we talked about, you didn't have much expenses. You could afford to quit your job.
Yeah. I was living I was living at my parents at the time, so I didn't have to pay rent, and my car was, didn't have a car payment either.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
wow.
I don't usually recommend people quitting their jobs when they're getting out and starting real estate, but
I don't.
You were one of the few people. Well, even in hindsight, you said you shouldn't, but even then, I mean, in your situation, you had this thing under subject to. You didn't have any hard deadlines or expensive monthly payments. You didn't have much living expenses, right?
Nope.
And you didn't need to refinance because you weren't doing any rentals. And so for me, Drew, I would say this is one of the rare cases where I said maybe it's okay. I mean, you quit your job so you can get this thing over with and spend more time on it to succeed, and you did. I mean, you achieved that. But in general, I don't recommend people quitting their jobs. I mean, you have much less extra strategies if you can't refinance a property.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely.
And I think,
let me ask you a question on that first deal then. So, I assume that there was no contract or anything, or was this like word of mouth, or did you actually have a contract with this?
I did have a contract. I got it from Taro. Did I understand the contract fully? No, but like a contractor's contract or the contract with the seller? The
contractor's contract.
I just got it from Taro,
which is very lucky for you to have that. I don't know if he hands that out, so that's super awesome. With networking, they have that relationship. So I would imagine it's a pretty good contract then, knowing that came from Taro. Did you end up, so did that guy actually, did you overpay him for the work that he did?
Yes, of course. When a contractor goes in and see that the stuff is half done and they see that you're distressed and wanting to get out, they will charge.
Did you end up going after this guy or anything like that, or?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got my contractor to finish a job. I was driving, and he was flipping somebody else's house, and I just parked there and asked him if he can finish my house.
That is hilarious. Now, do you still see this contractor at the gym, or did you quit the gym?
I quit that gym. We're now on good terms.
That's hilarious. Oh, man. Well, that is a doozy for the first one, Tony. That is a doozy.
Thank you for bringing me back memory lane.
Well, let's go on. Let's move on. What happened with number 2? What's up? What happened after that? So you're like, all right, got my credit cards back and paid off. Let's go do it again. Or what did you do?
Oh, no. I went to Jimmy and I told him I can't handle this anymore. Can we partner up? I can learn. And that's what we did. We did a 50-50 partnership. And he introduced me to his GC, his process of doing things, and I was just shadowing and going to properties and checking it out almost every day. So from there, it got more streamlined the second way around.
Wow. Well, that is an enviable spot to be in. I think everybody would like to have a mentor like that, where they can work with somebody like Jimmy. So if you guys are listening, that is right there. Do you feel like that's a life-changing moment for you right there?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, if you're listening out there and you have the ability to network and plug into a more experienced investor, highly recommend that you do that. You must be a charming guy, because that's a tough spot to grab. I think not everybody is able to jump into that type of relationship. So congrats on that. Hey guys, it's Julie here with a quick break from the show to discuss an opportunity some of you may have interest in, which is to work more closely with me. On almost a daily basis, I get calls from investors and brokers, both new and experienced, asking me for guidance or advice. I love helping you guys out, and it keeps me on my toes too. So with that said, I wanted to let you know that I have a private broker coaching community called the VIP Education Community. And the best part is that it's 100% free. That's right, it's free to join. So whether you're a traditional broker or a broker investor, my VIP education community offers personalized one-on-one coaching from not just me, but also from my experienced broker friends with expertise in all disciplines of real estate and real estate investing. We'll teach and share our modern marketing strategies, our tech and lead generation resources, plus teach you how to identify or offer up opportunities for yourself or for your clients using techniques such as seller financing, lease options, land entitlement deals, BRRRR investing, flipping, multifamily or commercial coaching, whatever you like. We've got it all covered for you. The future of real estate is changing fast, and to stay in the game, it's time to learn about all the options you can offer your buyer and seller clients, as well as, if you want, learn how to use those skills to grow your own real estate portfolio. If you'd like more details about joining my VIP education community, reach out to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com or text me at 206-910-2985 or just send me a Facebook message. My new favorite phrase is community equals confidence. So let's navigate the future of real estate together. Now, back to the show. So, all right. So tell us, keep going. Let's hear more.
Second deal just took, it was at budget. The timing was perfect. Everything went smoothly on that one. The only thing was,
we want to way back it up. How did you get the second deal? Where did you find the second deal? Did you actually start marketing, or were you just hanging out at your sister's salon talking to her clients, or,
So Jimmy brought the deal. He got it was a pocket listing from another agent. So we just agreed to give him a list back.
Okay.
So I took my proceeds I made from my Tacoma as the down payment to get the financing. Did we go through Uni?
Which property was this?
West Seattle, 32nd. Oh, we went through Civic. I don't think you were certain at that time.
Yeah. So what did that look like, the financing?
Acquisition was $350, put down about $100,000, and we got the rehab loan with it too.
Perfect.
So straight over tackle.
And how much was the rehab for this one?
$150.
That's a big project.
Yeah. It was a pretty big project. We added a loft to it and did a full down to the stud flip.
And so did you manage that? Did you manage who hired the contractor? Did you use Turl's contract again, or did you use Jimmy's, or how'd that all go
Jimmy's.
down?
Everything was on Jimmy's this time. I was just pretty much just tagging along and following the process. It was a lot bigger flip, and the prices that the GC quoted him to do was a lot cheaper than stuff that I've known, because mine was just a cosmetic flip and it took $80,000. This one was down to stud, full plumbing, full electrical, everything, and it was $150.
Any challenges along the way on this, or did it go smooth as silk? Sometimes, when you're going down to the studs like that, I think it's much more expensive and bigger project, but in some ways might be easier rather than having to MacGyver or work around existing stuff. Did you guys have any bumps in the road, or was it smooth sailing on this number 2 deal?
Minor bumps, but nothing that was killing the deal. Like, for example, The GC got confused with a couple property, and he insulated the walls without getting the electrical inspected. So we had to rip out the insulation, but it wasn't too bad. That was pretty much it.
Got confused between a few projects. Is that?
Yeah.
What does that mean? He thought one he was supposed to do it at some other house, and he did it at yours.
Yes.
Oh God, it's just funny, some of this stuff right there. Okay, so I assume that he didn't charge you guys to correct that.
No, he didn't.
But it maybe lost some time, or maybe something like that, or maybe not. I don't know.
About a week or two. Had to reschedule the inspector to come out.
Yeah. Anything else?
Mm-hmm. No. Other than that, when we did list it, the appraisal fell short.
Okay.
Because we finished that house in December of 2018. Yeah, December of 2018. But we decided to hold off of it until winter's over. And at that time, everybody was trying to hold on to their property. They didn't want to sell it at winter time, so there was nothing to value the property with other like property. Everything else was not remodeled. So
also the market had taken a dump. That as of about June of 2018, the market dropped about 10%.
It did. Yes. But we got the house. It got under contract within 3 to 4 days.
Excellent. At the price, at the ARV, the exit value that you guys had projected?
Yes, at the list price.
There you go. Again,
nice. How much was that price?
The price was $729.
Awesome. But it didn't appraise?
No, it didn't.
So what happened?
It appraised at $680. And from there, I was the agent on this property. And we were negotiating back and forth. We decided to hit $700. So they came up halfway. So we split the difference.
Okay. And they had to just bring some cash to the table on that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. So that's okay. Well, you bring up a point. So at what point in your rise out of Microsoft and Fry's Electronics did you decide to get your real estate license?
I actually got my license back in October of 2017, but I didn't do anything with it.
And you just out of feeling like it would give you some advantages and be just a great tool to have. Is that why you were deciding to get that? Or at that time, was it because you were like, hey, I want to go sell real estate and be a real estate broker because you like the sales thing?
No, or just more credibility.
Together. Did you put the 2 and 2 together between investing and being a real estate broker and all the major benefits there are there? Or was it straight up, oh, I just want to get my license and sell real estate, and then you learned about real estate investing afterwards?
No, just purely credibility, because Jimmy Tang doesn't have a license and he's perfectly fine without it. I just got it because I was networking with a lot more people, and just to say, oh, I have my real estate license, they're more interested in talking to me.
Right. Are you talking about other investors, or are you talking about sellers? Or are you talking about, when you say it's more credible, who are you referring to?
Other investors, other agents, other lenders.
Okay. I would agree. Don't put me down that rabbit hole today, but I'm, I think you're smart to have your real estate license. Okay, cool. So that's number 2, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to ask him any details about the loan on that second loan, Nee? Points or any of that stuff? Or are we going to move on to number 3?
Yeah. No, I am curious about what rate you get and how long did this entire project take too?
It took 1 year from purchasing to fixing to selling.
Oh, well, so 12 months exactly.
Yes.
Okay. And I know that Civic gives you 1 year loans, which probably saved you in this case versus most other hard money lenders locally.
Well, at the time I was talking to you and you say always go for 1 year versus 6 months. So I always said 1 year.
Tony's such a smart guy.
I just listen to people.
I hope you guys that are, back to the listeners here that are with us today, very other big nugget that these guys are talking about. I kind of like to pull things out between the lines here as we roll along these podcasts. So the first nugget today aside from hanging out at the gym more and, the hair salon to get deals, not contractors, but would be the thing about the closet and drilling an IKEA closet to the wall, maybe as a solution. I don't want to say that I know that myself to be a fact, but if Tony's experienced that himself and has that information, then, you're hearing it here maybe for the first time. So awesome stuff. And the other nugget is what I want to point out to you guys is that it is crucial, as Nee will elaborate on here, about you are very, very, very much paying attention to your loan terms, how long, not only your rate, but how long of a term that your loan is. Nee, you want to jump in on that one a little bit?
Yeah, I think most flippers, especially when you're starting out, tend to be very optimistic, right? And you can never really gauge how long things will take when you're a new investor. But I can promise you, if it's your first deal, you're probably gonna go over budget, hopefully not 4x like Tony did, and go over time. And if you're stuck in hard money, I think most of the local hard money lenders still offer about 6-month terms. And I always tell people, like, if I was doing a flip, even now, even with experience, a 2-week rehab, I still get a 1-year loan, because there are so many things that just are out of your control in the flipping world, right? Especially when it comes to the market or even things happening around you. I mean, you got right tagged, right? People dump trash in your backyard. Like, those things take time to add up. And just get a 1-year loan at a minimum, and make sure your extension terms are.
Or a contractor comes and puts insulation in your walls on the wrong project. That stuff burns times, guys. Yeah. That stuff burns time. Yeah, no doubt, right? So I think a lot of new investors, they get so emotionally excited about getting their first deal. They're like, what? They're actually going to lend me money? They're just so happy to have an opportunity maybe to get that loan, right? Because it was so hard to get a deal that, you might emotionally not realize you might be hurting yourself a little bit there, right? But that's why we have our friends at Certain Lending, and at a very minimum, right? Why we love working with Certain Lending and some of our other lending partners is because they will be honest with you about, they're not just out for themselves. They'll point you in the right direction, right? Which is such a great person to have on the bench on your team. So, wow. Well, let's keep going then. Did you want to say what the rate was? I think, what was the term? It took you a year. That's where we left off. It took you a year. Why did it take so long?
Because we did permits for this one. So we got electrical and building permit with it.
And was a long time, was it sitting there just doing nothing while you were getting certain permits, or were you working? Did you guys have to stop as part of the process and kind of slow time it waiting on permits?
Yeah, so we actually got an architect to design the floor plan for it, and we demoed it, and then we had to wait for the permit from the architect to get approval. So I think that took 2 months of waiting. And then between time when the inspection for the building, the installation, the framing, it took another month-ish a piece. So that's why it took a little bit longer.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, good thing about getting permits. I word is out, I think that properties that have been flipped and that is a known, people know that it gets flipped, you get a harder, it's almost like I think inspectors or buyers, and they look at it, they give you a tougher time,
Yep.
They give you a tougher time. So, well, good stuff. So those are 2 deals. What's going on now? So what's after number 2?
Number 2, I bought another property. I bought it the same time as the midway through my second flip. I bought one in Columbia City, 42nd. I believe I got Certain Lending to lend on that one. Do you remember that one, Nick?
Yeah, we did. I do. That was a fun one.
How'd you find that deal?
The same agent, pocket listing.
Okay, good stuff. And tell us more.
So I got that property, and it had an unfinished basement. And this time I measured the basement height. It was. Is
this you and Jimmy again together?
No, this is myself again.
So this is your second one on your own.
Yes.
Okay.
Second one on my own, and measured the ceiling height, and it was about 6.5 feet. So my contractor, we actually dug down the basement. So we dug the foundation down to get it to legal height 7 feet to get it appraised. That flip took about 6 months as well, but it was a lot bigger. It was about $185,000 because we had to do roof, foundation, siding, windows, everything down to stud as well.
So you like the big projects, huh? Is that what we're finding out here? Do you like doing those big projects like that?
Well, going along with Jimmy, that's all he does. So I just thought that was normal. I didn't know like that wasn't normal.
I actually, a little side note, I think that when the market started to get so competitive, prior to the middle of 2018, as of June of 2018, where the market took a dump like that, it actually cleared out, I think, some people that were doing lots of flips and stuff. And I think people changed their business model as a result of getting a spanking, and it became, I don't want to say it's less competitive, but it was so competitive at one point. I think almost the only way that people were getting deals, it seemed like that they had to do these huge, projects, right? Total gut jobs and things like that, or on the flip side, if you were like me during that time, you were doing what I call prehabs, but we won't talk about that today. But where you almost did nothing. It was like more fun to see like how little you could do. That was what I was doing back at the time. I gotcha. So digging the foundation, tell us the ups and downs of this deal as far as, or do you want to talk about financing first, Nee? What do you want to talk about?
No, I mean, this property project was unique. And from what I remember, it was unique because your strategy changed at the end, right? And basically you had to re-evolve everything.
Yeah. So,
tell us about that.
For this property, since I didn't have any more, all my cash was in the West Seattle property. So I actually got a private lender to front me the down payment for the hard money without getting a second lien position.
Who was that? A family member?
No, it was backtracking back to 2018, January 2018. I had 2 listings. It was my second listing as a real estate agent. And this client really wanted the house, but I didn't know about dual agency. So I told him to call somebody on the newspaper. So he called an agent on the newspaper, met him up. We did the deal together. And then we sat down and started having lunch for celebrating or closing. And he told me that he doesn't really do residential for clients. He buys condos and do buy and hold for himself. So from there, we started talking a little more. And he said that, I just sold one of my condos. Now I have cash. And I asked him, do you want to lend it to me for this property? And yeah, from there, he gave me the money.
So one of your regular real estate broker clients that you had been celebrating a transaction with had extra money from another deal, and he lent it to you.
Yes.
You know what? I have the exact same thing going on right now, guys. I have a project, a client that I'm working with that basically inherited a property from a neighbor and is going to get all this cash, starts talking to me about real estate investing, and we just continue to go down the path, and instead we talk about maybe them being a lender instead of, trying to flip themselves. There is a reason. That just, now you put me on my soapbox, Tony. There is a reason to get your real estate license, because if you know how to talk and know how to have conversations with people in a global way of thinking, whenever you're out doing your business, these types of situations arise all the time. You are looking for private lenders, go get your real estate license. I'm not saying, of course, that, you should be out, trying to solicit people for that type of thing by any means. But what happens when you're doing a real estate transaction is you develop relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And relationships can turn into, like you said, private lending or whatever. It's another reason to, diversify all your avenues if you're going to be in the real estate biz in whatever capacity. That's my soapbox talk for the day. But well, that is fantastic. I think that gives people hope. Here you are, you've done this, your second deal on your own, one deal there with Jimmy. You have some experience, but not a ton. And because you're a real estate broker and you are good at sales and good at conversations and rapport building, I'm sure you're able to find private money, which is the dream, of everybody. Everybody wants private money, right? So good for you. Awesome stuff. So let's keep on trucking. So he funded the equity portion without,
Yep.
did you say without any papers or deed or what? You just had a promissory note? What did that look like?
Yeah, we just had a promissory note.
Wow.
Yeah. And from what I remember, I think you came into closing with money back to you, right? Which is pretty rare. Most people don't purchase property and get money back. So that's the awesome part about using private money.
I think I got like 800 something back.
Still better than coming to the table with closing.
Yeah, it was a shock to me.
Well, then, so how did this project end up for you then? I mean, what was the final result of it?
The final result was in a soft cost, hard cost, everything. I was in a 608. It got appraised for 860. And I was going to sell it almost when it was almost done. But then my architect said that, oh, Tony, this is the LR zone land. It was small. It was only 3,800 square feet. But he said that we can build another house in the back if you want to. So from there, running my numbers and costs, I was like, okay, if I sell this property up front, I will actually make about 80, 90 grand, and I'll have the lot in the back free and clear. And let's do it. So right now we're waiting for permits with the city submission for this. Waiting for the permits now to build a house in the back. And I'm keeping the house in the front as of right now.
What are you doing with the house in the front? Is it finished and vacant? Are you renting it? What's happening with the house in the front?
I'm renting it to Loftium.
Okay, tell us about that. Say that again.
Loftium is it's a rental company based in Seattle. What they do is they try to rent, if you have pretty much like a ADU in the bottom. So they rent the top floor to a long-term tenant, and that tenant in turn get cheaper rent, but they would have to manage the Airbnb downstairs.
They have to offer up an Airbnb as part of it, right? So Loftium will, don't they like offer up down payment money?
I don't know. That I'm not sure.
Joe, put a link to the Loftium info in the show notes today, if you would. Yeah, let's talk about.
Great.
So tell us again the situation with Loftium, what they did.
So Loftium came in. So I had I actually still have hard money on it, and Loftium is paying me the full hard money cost every month, just like that. And they're managing the property. They put the tenant in there, and they're getting the profit they're making is from the Airbnb, but the tenant is managing everything.
So how are you what they're collecting the money? That's the deal, right? That they're collecting the money off the Airbnb, correct?
Yes.
So, and you're keeping the money off the upstairs rental and paying your hard money loan.
Yes.
But okay. And that how does it work? I don't know. Knee pipe in. You're the lender on this one, right? Are we what about his terms and all that stuff? How do we get him off the hard money?
No, so this one was somewhat complicated because I think we went different directions on it. So we refinanced the loan, and I think we went through different options, and I told you this is the way to go. But essentially, I think you were trying to get a conventional loan on it, right?
Yeah, I was.
And that didn't work out. Why didn't that work out?
Because I needed 2 years W-2.
Wow.
So I'm waiting. So the Loftium term is for 10 months. And at that time, I will have my 2 years, and I'm going to refi it under my name and keep the property.
So you'll have 2 years in real estate in the industry, being in the same industry, right?
Yes.
And that's part of it. But you also have to have the net income, unless the property can qualify on its own, right? We just did a podcast with Keith Pitch of Loan Depot, with our conventional lender we love. If you guys have not listened to that one, holy smokes, go and listen. Go look up the Seattle Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast and listen to our recent podcast with Keith Pitch of Loan Depot, and you guys will learn a ton. But I think you're considered self-employed. So now, instead of being employed by like Microsoft, you're self-employed. So I believe that only your net income, not your gross, is considered. And so are you have you sat with a conventional lender at this point and they told you you're good to go, just get that time under your belt?
Yep. Talk to a conventional loan, and then my accountant too, to structure everything, since I'm with the Motive Group as well.
Will that be the only loan that you have then in your name because you were living at your parents' house or whatever? Is this your first loan?
Yes.
Okay. There's some advantages there, right? Yeah.
Actually, you know what Tony just said right there? I know we kind of skipped over, but that's actually very important too, especially when you're self-employed, is that he just made sure that his account was in line with his lender and what they require, which is very important because your account helps you determine how much income you show for that loan.
Yes.
Right, especially if you're self-employed. And so I definitely didn't want to skip that over. I mean, if you're in a W-2, that's easy, but if you're self-employed, you have many different ways to show income and to take tax returns. To save on taxes. And what he's doing is making sure that everything aligns so that he can't get that loan that he's looking for.
Huge.
So I think that's awesome.
Huge point, Nee. Absolutely right. Because real estate investors are notorious for writing everything off they possibly can, right? And they think about, that sort of thing. But you have to actually, you are right. The best scenario you could set yourself up with is make a plan for yourself as a mix between your tax planning and your borrowing. People only think of one or the other, but there's many different ways to roll the numbers, right? Or to, it's definitely, you are right on the mark there about having a annual checkup. I say it's like, I call him Dr. Keith, right? Dr. Nee, Dr. Keith, right? You guys should go for an annual checkup with your lenders, your hard money lenders, your conventional lenders, your private lenders, your CPA, and what's your business plan for the next year? How much money are you thinking you need to borrow, or what do you want to borrow to get yourself to level up? And those are the people that you need to be having those conversations with, not people at a real estate investment club or not anybody you network with, right? You got to go to those people that are steering the ship for you there. Totally awesome stuff. Okay. So, all right. You have your plan in place to take out, because the Loftium setup was for, did you say 10 months?
Yes.
How did you find Loftium, or why did you decide to use Loftium?
One of another real estate investor I know was talking about Loftium. I just started searching up on them and gave them a call.
And so you're basically, how does that work? You're taking out the Loftium thing. Is it a loan, or what is it?
No. They just pay you a monthly rent. So they're your tenant. Loftium is your tenant. In the contract, they're allowed to sublease it out.
Okay. So they didn't give you any money, but they brought you a tenant, and they're taking part of the rent off the property by subleasing out the basement space.
We agreed on a monthly price, like a rent price. So they're paying me, the first month, last month, and a deposit. So it's the same as a normal tenant.
Okay. And so when you would go to get your loan on that property, you can just use the Loftium rent, or what? Or I guess it doesn't matter. They just use a market rent, I think, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. And you did that because why? You couldn't do that. Why did you need to use Loftium? You couldn't have just done it yourself, or?
I could have, but I didn't know enough about the rental laws and tenant laws to manage it myself yet.
Got it. Is there a property management fee involved, or what kind of, any fees, I guess?
No fees.
They're probably making money off the sublease somehow?
The Airbnb proceeds. They're making purely all the Airbnb money. Okay,
so it's not a permanent tenant on a lease down there. It's an Airbnb setup.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, maybe we should have somebody from Loftium on the podcast, Joe, if you want to check into that. That'd be interesting.
Let me clarify this one real quick too, just to avoid any confusion. So Loftium is essentially your tenant, and they have a 10-month lease with you, right? And they're going to give you that monthly payment amount, which basically covers your hard money cost. Anything else, whatever they do in the property, they get to keep themselves. And so to you, I mean, even though they're running an Airbnb, to you it's like, and to a lender that maybe looks at your loan, they just see it like a long-term lease. They don't really need to know what's going on with what Loftium is doing with the Airbnb. But that's essentially, you essentially have a tenant that's kind of like a business versus just a a single individual.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I learned a lot from working with Tony on this deal too, because you considered many different strategies in this deal, right? You were going to build like tiny houses or micro houses. You were considering living in it at one point, from what I remember.
Yeah.
I kind of want to learn what your thought process going through these different strategies, and like how did you decide on going this route versus any other exit strategy?
What do you mean by that?
Like, well, how did you decide this is what I'm going to do with the house in front and house in the back? Because I think you were going to build something differently from those back houses, from what I remember.
Yeah. So what I tend to do is try to gather as much information as I can, lay it all out in front of me, and then weigh out each option and decide. So if I went with the tiny houses, it triggers a water main extension. So with that, it was 225 feet away. That was a lot of money, a lot of time just to do the extension. And then I found out that, well, Adrian Chu told me that you can do, since it's LR2, you can condo convert both properties and you don't have to do a subdivision. You can just do a shared lot. So that saves time and a lot of money.
Does that change something with the water line?
Yes, it doesn't trigger it, because for SPU to trigger the water line, you have to do a subdivision. Once the lot is subdivided, that's when it's triggered. But if you keep the lot the same, then SPU doesn't care about the water line at all. So we're doing a condo conversion for both properties.
What's the zoning on the property?
LR2.
LR2.
Interesting.
Do you know
so you're
what
not subdividing?
Do you know which zoning that this allows? Like what other zoning? I mean, could you do it on any other types of zoning?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. That's what people are talking about today, guys, are these condo conversions as a way to get around some of this stuff. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to get Adrian back on if he wants to share those secrets with us. But, go do the research on your own, everybody, and see if you can learn something about this little nugget that we're dropping on here today. So you bought the property. Originally, you were just going to do a big gut rehab until your contractor said, "Hey, you can put another house in the back."
My architect did.
Your architect, and then you went through the process of. Did you go through the tiny home decision-making option prior to starting the rehab on the main house, or after?
Halfway in.
Halfway in. If you would, in hindsight, would you have tore down that house instead of renovated it?
Yes. No, I wouldn't, because that still trigger the main. I would just not rehab the property and just leave it the way it is until I get all my permits. I can do both at the same time.
Yep. Good stuff. So, wow. Yeah, that is interesting, guys. That is interesting. That's a good, so now you're just waiting on the permits for the back house. Is that it?
Yes.
And you're going to keep the front house long-term?
I will make my decision once everything's up so I can weigh it all out.
Right. You know, what's interesting to me, because I'm working on some projects right now, there's a big, because of the upzoning that's happened in certain parts of town and things like that, there's a lot of where properties are being sold where the front house, I mean, it's not like this hasn't happened before, but it seems to be, maybe it's just more in my face lately based on where I live, because I live up towards the Ballard area where there's all kinds of stuff going on in Crown Hill and stuff like that, but where they're keeping the front house and they are building townhomes in the backyard essentially, right? Mm-hmm. So That's something actually today down at SIC that we're going to be talking about. I think Jimmy just posted something both on Seattle Investors Club Facebook group and on WARI about, some backyard cottage type things that have been made some progress with the city, or an update. That's something we're going to be talking about today down at SIC. Plus me, myself, I'm involved in that situation right now as well. And I, as far as going through that process, have picked up some nuggets as far as deal flow and ways to approach those deals, maybe that might give you a better opportunity of grabbing it. But it's too much to go into on the podcast today. So these are the things we talk about, guys, at our weekly mastermind. So come on down and join us. But good stuff, Tony. So that's your second deal on your own. It's still in process. How are you paying for the process of the permitting on the back lot?
Through my brokering side. So in between flips, I do residential brokering. So that's been actually paying for.
So it generates cash flow for you, generates some cash to, there we go again. Gotta love it having a real estate license. That's my favorite thing in the world. Okay, cool. So you got some deals sold and that's funding that. Or do you have a partner or you're just doing this all on your own?
Oh no, Motive Group, I have a partner. His name is Greg Hunter.
Okay. And he's in on this deal with you?
No, he's not. He's mostly on the managing the residential side. Excellent.
Good stuff. Wow. So anything else you got going on? Because we're going to get short on time. We're going to wrap it up here in a minute. Anything else?
Right now I'm doing a flip up in Crown Hill. That's almost finishing. So that, and then I am doing I bought a property from Jimmy, one in West Seattle that I can do a second story addition and a cottage that I do in the back.
Boy, you are going for it. You know, this is interesting. Look at this. We're going to circle back to the beginning of the podcast where Nee kindly said that you were a hustler. And I will tell you one thing we've learned today about Tony is that he is a damn hustler. Good for you, man. And guess what? I'm not too far from you when you're up in Crown Hill. So hit me up and let's go grab a coffee when you're up checking on your project up this way. Where's it at in Crown Hill?
It's on 103rd.
What'd you say?
103rd.
103rd, and it's just a flip. It's not a upzone play.
No, it's just a flip.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, what else? You got anything else that you're working on?
Nope. That's pretty much it right now.
That's enough?
Yes, that's plenty.
And what would happen if you came across the deal right now?
I will buy it. I have a private lender that funds all my deals now.
You mean some other people you've sold their house and they want to lend you their money, or same guy?
Oh no, just a different guy. He's mostly a international businessman, and he likes to invest. I showed him a lot of my properties. He's been watching me since my West Seattle, and now he's funding all my deals.
Awesome. There you go. Good stuff. And so what are you doing as far as your marketing goes, or are you marketing? What do you do to generate leads? It sounds like you've been buying off of some wholesalers or some brokers with pocket listings or whatever. Is that your main source of lead generation?
Yes. My team do a lot of direct mailers and ads, but I like to network. I like to take deals for coffee, like to meet people. That's how I get most of my deals.
And when you say your team, are they marketing themselves as real estate brokers or as investors when you're saying the direct mail?
Right now, we're marketing as real estate agents, but I'm onboarding 2 more people, and we're going to start cold calling and door knocking.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah. Good stuff. Sounds great. The future is bright. Okay. Anything else, Nee, that you got? This is an interesting one here today, guys. Right? You know, I think what the theme here is to me is go for it and hustle and work through it. That to me feels like what it is. Damn well go for it and work through it and don't give up, you know, and also do great networking, surround yourself with great people, be aware of what resources are available to you globally in your whole life, right? You know, look at him picking up a private money lender off of a real estate, agent transaction. Again, those things cross your path if you have the right lenses on to be aware of these things. If you just get the idea in your head that it's possible, anything's possible, right? Good stuff.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that so much because Tony is one of the most interesting people that I know. He basically has no fear. which is what I love about him. I mean, to be able to talk to so many people and talk to everybody, you have to have no fear, right? A lot of people have reservations in talking to people, but Tony is just like the ultimate networker. He gets deals, he gets experience, he gets money, he gets everything just from talking to people. He's on Jimmy's, he works very closely with Jimmy Tang, which is, again, it's not a easy thing to do. And all he did was reach out to him on LinkedIn, right?
All
And so I think Tony,
yeah.
I know. And I mean, I think Tony is so great at being, and he's pretty genuine when he talks to people. He knows how to, he's just very likable. And I think he just, no, again, the thing was is no fear. He's not very shy about anything. And I imagine, I mean, you're on the fast track, Tony. I can tell you that. I mean, you are like,
thank you. I appreciate that.
To have so much experience you have after doing, even in doing 2 or 3 deals, you already have the experience of like someone doing 20. So I'm thoroughly impressed.
What's your business model going forward, Tony?
Next year, transition to more apartments. I want to learn more about buy and holds.
Good for you. And you say you want to get into buy and holding on some multifamily, or you want to move towards
commercial, mixed use, and apartments.
Excellent. Well, hit me up. I have experience in all those as well. So it sounds like we're going to be having a good coffee conversation. I'd love to, talk shop with you and be one of your resources for sure. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Well, all right, guys. A lot of stuff that we talked about today. I think, feel encouraged and feel like anything is possible. Go for it. Reach out to those that are more experienced than you, and surround yourself and have a deep bench on, the people. It's interesting is that, that is the craziest story. That is hilarious story from the beginning. That first deal is just cracking me up. I got to tell you, with the drug dealer that's dumped the needles in the back, then told you he'd charge you $100 to pick them up and then stole your truck.
Yep. From that deal,
guys.
From that deal, it made everything else like I have no stress with any other problem when it comes to anything.
Good stuff.
This is why he has no fear.
Yeah, after the first deal. Yeah.
Who does your branding as far as your motive group?
My other business partner is Tammy Wise.
Yeah.
Tammy Wise does a lot of our marketing.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good. I can't wait
to. She'll be very happy to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, she could help me. But all right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it down here so we can all get on with our lives and our days here. And before we do so, we'll remind everybody again that we have weekly Seattle Investors Club meetups that are one's in Burien on Tuesdays, as I call it, Tortellini Tuesdays at Angelo's, which is an Italian place in Burien at 601 Southwest 153rd Street from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. every Tuesday, every single Tuesday. Awesome conversations about anything you could think of. And if you have questions, bring them. Deals, bring them. Just show up and join us, and I promise you won't regret it. And then on Thursdays in Redmond at the Family Pancake House off Redmond Way from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. No RSVP required, guys. You can show up late, although I recommend that you get there with at least 1 hour left to go. But don't worry about it. Casual environment. You're not disrupting any type of presentation. Just come join us. And I promise you'll be happy that you did. So other than that, Joseph, give us the details about today's podcast. Oh, one other thing, guys. If you are on the Seattle Investors Club Facebook page, or you are not getting any reminders about these weekly meetups, go ahead and shoot me an email at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com and just say, add me to the list and give me your email address, and we'll make sure that you get those, because we are going to be launching another one in Tacoma soon. And we also have one that we had our first official evening meetup out in Burlington at Bob's Burgers and Brews. You can look on the Seattle Investors Club meetup page or Facebook page to find the details. That's a once a month evening meetup hosted by Julia Phillip out there in Burlington. So for all you North Enders. But other than that, I'll turn it over to my brother Joe.
Yeah. So guys, all of the show notes can be found at SeattleInvestorsClub.com/92. That's SeattleInvestorsClub.com/92. And if you guys enjoy this show, you can hit the subscribe button. It's 100% free. Just smash that subscribe button. And if you really like the show, we would love to get a review from you. Any review that we get is awesome. So please do that if you have the time.
Good stuff. All right, fellers. Hope to see you all soon. Tony, let's connect and have a coffee next time you're up in the Ballard area. And Joseph, safe travels. Nee, you and I will be sharing some tortellini and minestrone soup in about the next hour. So I will see you there. Over and out.
Love it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.